Good morning. My name is Raghu Pandurangi. I am the founder, president, and chief scientific officer of SciNG Medico Solutions. It is also called SEMCO and Amplexi LLC. It is such a great pleasure to bring you a new video series called GNYANENA SADRUSHAM. Nothing can beat knowledge. Under this program, which is catered primarily to students, high school students, college students, or even people who don't have much of the background in medical, I would like to ask them questions. Actually, they are asking me an intrigued questions for which I'll try to get user-friendly presentation or answers. Here is my first victim, my own daughter, Amulya Akka Pandurangi, who has a very intrigued questions. Akka, what is your question?
Thank you, Papa. So my question to you is in medicine, especially in Western medicine, why do we have to take medication for life? For example, blood pressure medication. It is like cure versus control. Why do we choose control?
That is a very, very good question, Akka. To put her question again, let's understand the Western medicine and expectations. Why Western medicine recommends lifelong medication. Before I start, it's a great pleasure to introduce my team, Dr. Bengt Bergstrom, who is a Chief Medical Officer, and Sean Luke Vanderheyden, our industrial expert. The first thing we talk in social media is a conspiracy. That conspiracy means when you ask some questions, people simply say that, oh, it is pharma is greedy, they want to make money. In fact, they will try to say they have even invented the disease so that they can solve the problem and they can earn the money. That is what I call vada, which is not bad. But for us, some vada, that is a rebuttal, is necessary. Let's go back to the science here. Renin and angiotensin system, aldosterone. And if you look at this, basically the picture, which also points of appreciation, in nature, how low blood pressure and high blood pressure, hypertension is controlled naturally. There is a homeostasis in our body, and the liver starts producing angiotensinogen. When renin converts that into Ang1, again the lung comes to the picture with angiotensin converting enzyme, which converts Ang1 to Ang2. Ang2 is a vasoconstrictor. So with all these things, all these steps, what is the take-home message? The take-home message is basically team spirit. All organs working cohesively to solve the problem. Here is my intake. In a drug design, no one person can solve the problem. We need chemists, biochemists, molecular biologists, toxicologists, indologists, epidemiology, and physicians, regulatory people. So if we work together just like our body, we can achieve our goal. So basically we are talking about two, vasoconstriction and vasodilation. Vasoconstriction gives rise to high blood pressure, vasodilation, low blood pressure, but maintaining them, it makes a body homeostasis. Okay, take home message here is stimulus versus response in the normal body is exceptional. We just cannot beat it. Low blood pressure. Don't worry, angiotensin 2 constrict your blood vessels, increases blood pressure to normal. High blood pressure, don't worry, triggering of vasodilators, leaving more blood into the system until it becomes normal. This is, in a way, you can connect to material science in electronics, how this feedback mechanism can be very useful in stabilizing the voltage. I'm not an expert on electronics, but I do know that a negative feedback, bringing it to positive, input, can solve many of the stability of voltage. Let's move on to the take-home points. The biggest point that one has to understand is blood pressure is dynamic. The target is really dynamic. It goes up and down and other things. So you have to understand, if you want to do drug design, it has to come to that conclusion that how can we vary the parameters so that it is normalized. If you do too much, it will go to hypotension. If you do too much, too less, it is hypertension. That is the challenge that we face. So if you look at all these things, we have to identify biomarker angiotensin 2 and biomarker angiotensin converting enzyme, which are the biological targets if you want to control hypertension. So $1 million question, if everything is okay, no problem. But when the RAS system is perturbed, homeostasis is disturbed, and what do we do about it? Food for thought. This is called Chintana. This is one of my most favorite topic of entire life, thanks to my uncle, Kaka Krishna Pandurangi, and my father, Nyaya Vedanta Tarka Vidwan, P. Srinathacharya Pandurangi. So the food for thought is, first question, how did it happen? I'm sorry, let's go back. How did it happen? It's very difficult to find the cause, but we need to question. And what to do now? I have to get one of the best teachings by my family, my father, to understand this. That's what it says, Bhagavad Gita. Gatasu na gatasumscha nanushocanti panditaha. Scholars won't think about what is the past. They always think about what we have learned and how to apply it in the future. So, coming back to that concept, we can say there is a birth of new drug called ACE inhibitor. Going back to the same system, we can interrupt this part to make it less vasoconstrictive. Okay? So, appreciable points. External intervention, exogenous, can never be as good as internal stimulus versus response. Let's give some credit to the nature. But we have a window of opportunity. Angiotensin 2 or ACE become biomarker, biological target. That gives rise to birth of ACE inhibitors. Example is lisinopril. What are the challenges that we go through as a drug designer? First, biggest problem, how do we control amount of ACE inhibition? If it is too much, it will lead to hypotension. If it is less, no reduction of hypertension. The second biggest problem, you are different than me. We are all different. How does it work for all across the board? Male, female, young, old, underlying diseases. We need to talk about dose escalation. We need to work on benefit versus risk ratio. In pharma, we don't talk about cure, we talk about control. The reason is it's so heterogeneity, and also benefits outweighs the risk is what we are interested. 1 minute. And the other question is, ACE is not simply restricted to heart. It has been in many other organs like lung and kidney. So if we try to inhibit ACE, it is all over body. What happens if ACE is in other organs also inhibited? That's what we call side effects. But here is the key, overexpression. In hypertension, ACE is overexpressed. So we have some way to curtail that. We also develop targeting technology, which targets ACE overexpression and limited problems with the other ACEs. So, another biggest problem is foreign substance. The moment I put something into the body, it's all chewed by proteases. So, how ACE inhibitors can work when it may get degraded inside the body? We have developed stability and formulation technologies, new entities in drug design. Let's have some more appreciation points. Leonard Sketz discovered ACE in 1956. And people studied ACE enzyme structure in 1975. And by the time it comes to the market, ultimately the meta-analysis, this is very, very important for drug design. Whether it is Western or Eastern, everybody has to do this. 20 trials, 998 patients, so many trials. What is the natija? That means in the sense that the result is statistical. All parameters like hazard ratio, confidence index, p-values will give a confidence of whether it is working statistically. That means how many patients are getting benefited versus people who are not benefited. So in this case, lisinopril, we have some very good data, reduce blood pressure by an average of 32 systolic, 17 diastolic. This happens after 40 or 50 years from the discovery. So, right now millions of scientists and doctors worked since 1956, FDA approval 1987, cost is more than $1 billion, development time 9 years. Please remember failure rate before the blockbuster is 92%. I have to talk to you about this failure rate. I have never seen any industry surviving with this failure rate, but pharma does. It's because of the investment, because of the trust the people have, whoever is interested in the science. So, I'm glad that I'm part of this pharmaceutical team. Now, $1 answer to $1 million question. Why Western medicine insists lifelong medication? Again, the blood pressure is dynamic. It goes up and down. You can't suppress ACE too much. You can leave it not. So bringing them to homeostasis itself is a huge practical problem. So that is the reason they say take 1 tablet per day and see how it goes and measure blood pressure. And they change the dose, they change the frequency, they change with typical medication, different medications. Ultimately, the blood pressure clinical parameter on a daily basis is the key for the success. Most important here, why do we do this GNYANENA SADRUSHAM series? Believe me, we are all interested scientists in going and trying to solve the problem. No time to think about it, but right now, the Waatsapp University graduates, PH.Ds, MDs, they come out in no time. We need an antidote. So I thought maybe this is an attempt as an antidote to Waatsapp University graduates. Take home point again is control is the key. Although human beings want to know that cure is the one. So whichever is practical, we got to do that. All these things wouldn't have happened but for Chintana taught by my father. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadeshyanti te jnanam jnaninaha tattvadarshinaha. I love this Bhagavad Gita. Start with an hypothesis. Pariprashna, very important. Keep on asking questions until you get no answer. But everything comes good only when you dedicate yourself, seva. That's how the jnana was taught, upadesham. So I am so glad to acknowledge my father who taught me all the Bhagavad Gita and the spiritual aspects of that, and my uncle who has supported and who induced or triggered my passion for Chintana. So, in essence, we are talking about passion to share knowledge, commitment to make a difference to the people. Here is some of my credentials, long credentials, working as a faculty in University of Missouri, sharing development of pharmaceuticals, COVID and Malincrod, Danforth Plant Science Center, and now my own company. I thank you very much for you to listen to me. Please subscribe, transfer, and more questions, more happy to answer. Have a nice day. God bless you. Thank you.